Hi, everybody. This is Kat Margulis, and you are watching Passion Project. Today on the show, I'm thrilled to introduce Naomi and Keshia Krucker of Manorun Organic Farm. It's a family-run farm set on the outskirts of Hamilton in Coketown, Ontario. Naomi, Keshia, and their sister Nikita, along with their parents Chris and Denise and brother Caleb, have been farming organically for 25 years, offering organic vegetables through community-supported agriculture. Naomi and Keshia, it's so great to have you on the show. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so I was just telling you guys, I just interviewed your parents and I'm so smitten. I want to move onto the farm. I want to become their child. I wish that I had been raised that way. Yeah, it just is what an amazing journey it sounds like you guys have been on. And I want to get your take. Was it like that for you? Was it good for you too?
I think being older, you can appreciate it a whole lot more. We complained when we were younger, I would imagine, quite a bit about having to work on the farm, but definitely I can appreciate it so much more now.
Yeah, I mean, I have my own kids now, and we're trying to give them the same lifestyle that we had growing up. So obviously it left a good impression. Lots of space to run around and be kids, I think is really important, especially right now when we don't have much to do. So yeah, I mean, it was, I think, a little bit of a roller coaster ride as teenagers, but we enjoyed it enough to stay around and stick around the family business. So yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, I was wondering, like parents, and I'm a mom too, like there's always this idea, like parents either want you to sort of be like them or not, like go into the family business. Like, I did all this so that you could do something completely different. You know what I mean? But it sounds like your parents raised you, hoping maybe that you would continue it as like a family tradition. Did you have this moment where like, I am done, I'm out of here, I'm going to follow my passion? And yeah, tell me a little bit about your personal journey and how you ended up staying on the farm or coming back to it.
Want me to go first?
Sure.
Yeah, I think for me, the big ticket out of there was my driver's license, because I grew up in Ancaster, and of all my friends, I lived the farthest from the hub there, and no one ever wanted to drive you home. No one's parents ever wanted to drive you home. So just even getting a drive into the city was a pain. So yeah, getting our license was like, all right, a little bit more freedom. I can go see my friends when I want. I can get a job outside of the farm. And we all did that fairly soon. I think after turning 16, I worked for the old mill in the kitchen for a little bit, and another kind of gourmet to go restaurant in town. And I mean, that little taste of what it's like to work in the real world under fluorescent lighting, no windows, when you're used to being outside all the time, was challenging. So I think we slowly came back to the farm being like, oh, you know what? It's a little bit nicer being outside all the time and being able to work for your family. Hello.
I want to come see my dad.
Okay, I'll have to come see it in a minute, okay? So yeah, that's a little bit of my journey. I feel like there was more coming back to the farm after I went to university and did some traveling and agriculture related work in Mexico, and realizing that my passion and my ability to make the biggest difference was in my local food community. So I had imagined through my schooling, I studied international development studies at Guelph, that I would likely work abroad. But that experience, that 6 months down south, kind of made me realize that my passion and my work was going to be best utilized by my community and strengthening local food at home.
Oh, I love that.
And for myself, I think I think what we all appreciated growing up is that our parents didn't pressure us into taking over the family farm. That's never anything that was put on our shoulders. So even though we did have to work on the farm until we were 18, when we turned 18, most of us went on to do, actually all of us went on to do post-secondary education. So I went to the University of Guelph, studied history, did a bunch of traveling. On my travels, I worked on some organic farms, did some wolfing experiences. And I think oddly enough, working on other farms is what brought me back to our farm, because I was able to appreciate what we did on our own farm and find my own kind of footing elsewhere, and then come back to our farm with these different experiences. I also took another archaeology job a couple summers ago, and I was kind of nervous to bring it up to our parents because that would mean I wouldn't be working on the farm for the first summer since I was like 11 years old. And they were super supportive. And I think being able to go and pursue different things and not have that pressure hanging over us is kind of what ultimately brought us all back to varying degrees, because we just wanted to be a part of that community and stay connected to our family there.
I love that. I love that. And now you guys, as the next generation of the farm, being three sisters, three women running a farm, that feels pretty leading edge or cutting edge. What's it like to be doing this and being in this industry and showing up the way you do?
It's always felt quite natural. I think, females growing, sowing, working with seeds is just very instinctual. And this realm of alternative, regenerative, organic agriculture already has a lot of females. So we're tapped in with a lot of female run farms, which is pretty cool. I feel like when we're at conferences and, meeting with our networks in other capacities, it's a good mix, 50% female run farms, 50% male run farms. So it's always felt inclusive. I personally have not met too many barriers being a female in this position. I think it's nice to know that we're part of a movement that is so well represented on with both sexes.
I love you called it a movement. I love that you called it a movement. Does it feel like that? Do you feel like there's like this greater momentum?
It does, especially because we've seen so many of our interns go on and not necessarily start their own farm, but do something in the ag world, that is helping move the cause along. And, I was doing another presentation last night, and one of the questions was, do you have a hard time keeping consistent labor or return labor? And the answer is yes. And that's because these young, excited farmers are often wanting to start their own farms as well. So, we see that they come on as a manager role, but they're also building their own farm, and we're trying to help foster that. So, they decrease their hours until finally they're ready to launch and do their own thing by themselves. So I think, we feel a little bit sad when we see an employee, like they never leave. I'm always like, well, yeah, of course you don't need to come back, but you have to be involved in the farm in some capacity. We need to see you. But it feels like a little win every time, someone's like, I'm growing on my own. We had an intern from, I don't even know, 10, 12 years ago, reach out and send us a message saying, hey, I just want to let you know, my husband and I are almost 100% self-sustainable on our property. And a lot of that came from our experience with you. And it's like, yes, to know these little farms and farmers are popping up, and in turn training other people to keep farming is exciting. That ripple effect, that movement feels strong and has felt even more strengthened in the last 2 years if we've seen people really focus on local food.
Yeah. Do you see like an increase of people moving out to where you are, starting their own farms, or increased interest in what you do as consumers or as potential producers themselves?
Yeah, definitely consumers. So we have often had a hard time filling our CSA membership by the May is when we like to have everything capped. And since COVID, we filled up and oversold and had an 80-person wait list within 2 months last year. And we're already over 50% sold, and we just opened up registration a week ago. So a lot of those are, yeah, it's great. It's like, we feel like we don't have to do anything. We're scrambling to get some marketing out there. So yeah, and I think it's a combination of factors. It's that people are learning deeper about their health. They're really prioritizing, who's growing my vegetables, what kind of soil are they being grown in, and that is making people want to have a relationship with their farmers. So we're seeing a lot of repeat customers and a lot of new people who are like, I'm ready to make the change.
That is so awesome. That is so
As far as other farms popping up, I also work for an organization called the Ecological Farmers of Ontario, and they're doing a lot of work to help new and young farmers start up. But one of the big barriers is land prices, especially in this area. So we're seeing cool things happen on rented land, but as far as, there's this dreamy idea that once you do an internship or work on a farm, then you can go and buy a farm and start it, but it's not realistic in today's market. So that's one of the barriers that I've seen in more recent years to people starting their own farms.
A financial barrier.
Yeah.
Being on the forefront of this movement, what do you see gets to be like the upgrade for the industry and for the art of farming, or the family run farm? Where's the opportunity?
Do you mean as us kind of taking over the farm? Like where would we?
Yeah, like I guess as an industry as a whole, because there's probably, a lot of farmers or businesses that are maybe running on old models. And I'm wondering, where do you see the future and the opportunity as like the next generation?
I would say I think there's a lot of room for growth, and I think there needs to be an openness to keep learning and not kind of be stuck in the past. But on that same point, we do need to learn from the people that have paved the way for us. So I keep learning things from my dad, and we even had a past intern from way back when come and help us out during a busy part of the season. And I was learning things from him that I guess my dad had taught him however many years ago. So kind of relearning things, but being willing through like even the conference that the EFAO puts on, and other resources online, and through connecting to other people, being willing to learn and incorporate different and new regenerative methods, and keep moving forward to create more sustainable processes on the farm.
Very cool.
Yeah, and to kind of echo that, I think just naturally farmers who are farming organically are always striving to do better, and that comes in the form of learning. So these conferences that we're attending, the learning that we do in the winter is very much shared between a huge network of Ontario and Canadian based farmers who are just eager to know who's doing what cutting edge things on their farm. How can we, we're farming without chemicals, but how do we do better? How do we protect the biodiversity of our ecosystem? How do we make sure that our soil is so nutrient rich that our vegetables are uptaking that, so our clients, our customers are getting the most nutrient dense food? Like we're always pushing ourselves to kind of adopt and transform to make what we're doing more ecological.
That is so cool. That is so cool. Wow, I can really feel your passion about it,
and it's not
really
as easy as I'm making it sound. Sometimes, we're learning this stuff and it's very sciencey, and we're like, we both don't have science brains. So we're like, okay, we just got to talk to a farmer who knows the science, is doing the stuff, and we'll do the stuff that they're doing.
Yeah. So tell me about that. Like, what are the hardships and the challenges in to a certain extent, following in your parents' footsteps?
Maybe this is more general to just farming, but it's scary trying new things. We bought a new seeder last year, and it was really tricky to figure out, even though it was going to save us time in the long run. and you really only get one shot. We put things in the ground early April, and if they don't come up, if something happens weather-wise, we don't drop enough seed, that pushes us back a week or 2 weeks. So, if you've been, I've heard another farmer say this, and I love this, and it's like, you've been farming for 30 years, but that's only 30 tries, that season to grow potatoes right, to grow carrots right. So you don't get a lot of do-over, which is why, sometimes when you're trying to bring a new system onto your farm where you already have your set ways of farming methods, there's something instinctual that fights it, because the tried and true way. And there's a certain amount of risk that comes into play with adopting new methods. So I think to mediate that, we always try on a small scale. And I'm normally the one fighting it. I'm like, okay, we'll try the new cedar. We'll do a half row, and we'll do our other 3 rows the way we normally do it. And then if we like the results, then we'll keep moving over. And that's with kind of all our equipment too. There's initially a hesitation to use it until we figured it out and we know we're not going to have complete crop loss in a certain area.
That's great advice too. That's really cool. And what brings you the greatest joy from working and managing the family farm?
I think for me, it's the sense of community, getting to know all our workers and interns and the people that are actually consuming the vegetables we're growing is pretty incredible. All the volunteers we have, getting to know everyone, chatting out in the fields, seeing the full circle of the farm from seed to harvest, to people, even taking photos on their Instagram or social media and tagging us in it. It's really nice to connect in that way. And I think that's what always keeps me coming back for more, is always getting to meet new people and kind of sharing the passion of growing food.
Vitamin D is a big one. That brings me a lot of joy, especially, there's a nice sunbeam coming through the window, but yeah, we're kind of hibernating right now, and like everyone, I'm longing for those full days outside in the sun. There's tons of the whole aspect of the job brings us a lot of joy. Me being able to bring my kids to work with me and seeing them throughout the day. And that first harvest is, you get that same feeling every year, which is a mix of nervousness, because you're like, do I have enough food for this first week? And then this amazement that you're like, these fields had nothing in them 4 weeks ago, like literally nothing, and now it's luscious and we're able to pump out enough food for 200 members. And so it's always this mix of not sleeping well the first week before the CSA starts, and then just amazed at how much you can produce on a small piece of land, how many people you can feed.
That's so cool. That is really, really cool. What advice do you have for the next generation of farmers?
I think start small, and work up as you have the capacity to do so. I think that's an important one. It's easy for interns and staff of ours to come and work at the farm and be like, okay, this is what I want to do. But this is 25, 30 years in the making. What is now a 200 member CSA was at one time 15, and then 25, and a lot of off-farm income involved. So, and I see young farmers get so excited and try and take on too much, and it's overwhelming, right? We get so excited in the winter, we plan so much, and those 6 months that we have to grow go by quick, and it's exhausting. And you burn out every season normally in August, sometimes end of July. And you just have to mentally prepare for that and not forget that it's coming. And so those little steps help you get through those tough periods. Scaling up appropriately is what I like to say.
That's really cool. And which brings me to my next question too. It's like quite a lot of growth for you guys, for the farm, to go from like 15 CSA to 200 where you're at now. how much more capacity do you have, and like, what is the big vision moving forward?
Good question. The big vision. 200 was a challenge. That was 150 to 200. We jumped in 1 year. And I think a couple of things went right. Keshia did a really good job managing the team. And it was our first year with a whole team of paid staff. And the growing conditions were fantastic. So that all helped smooth that transition from 150 to 200. Now that we're have one season of 200 under our belt, I want to do it again, assuming that maybe the weather won't be as good, and we might have some challenges with the yields. 200 feels comfortable for now. I don't know. Maybe check back in a couple of years, and I'll see if we're ready to scale up.
And I think the growth for our farm is right now, maybe the focus is on diversifying and bringing our own individual passions to the farm. So Naomi has started doing sustainable weddings on the farm. We've been hosting different events. We did our first holiday market this year. And my partner and I are in the process of starting a farm cidery. So I think it's taking our passions and bringing that to the farm, and seeing the growth in that way as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I love how you guys have been able to carve out your space and bring your individual interests and passions to the farm. Tell me about that. Like, was that something that you proposed to your parents? They proposed, and I really see how it like makes you guys, makes the farm unique, and like you said, it diversifies and makes you so much more resilient, right? Yeah.
First.
Sure. I think that I don't even really know. I think they've always been open to us bringing what we want to the farm and not putting any real pressure. They've been super supportive, and like for my project with my partner, the cidery, they've been really great about it, and we're immediately like, yes, let's do it on the farm. How are we going to make this happen? So I think it's always been kind of a collaborative thing, and how to keep us interested and passionate about the farm and not to make it too limited. So I think that's what's kept it going. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, we're a very social farm, and more so now that we have stopped going to farmers markets. We've really invested a lot of time and energy into getting people to the farm, because now that's where our farm store is, and we would like our farm store sales to replace our market sales. So part of that is, how do we just get people more comfortable with the idea of going to their farm to get their vegetables? So we have our farm feasts, and we've got the weddings, and yeah, the more kind of fun stuff we can do, the farm crawls. People know our farm, people know our farm stores open, and I think it just builds a different mindset around going to get your food. Like, people build us into their grocery route, right? We're privileged that we're so close to Hamilton, but there are people who go, okay, now I'm going to do my weekly route, and I'm going to go and I'm going to get fruit here. I'm going to go to Manorun and get my veggies and my eggs and my meat. And so it's nice when you can help people rethink that. A cidery is another way to get people out, because you're going to come for the atmosphere and have a drink, but then you're also going to want to grab eggs and meat and vegetables. So that's what we're thinking about when we're brainstorming other ways to get people on the farm. How do they complement each other, but not take away so much of our staff capacity that all of a sudden we're all doing different things and no one's doing the veggies anymore.
Yeah. What would you like the audience to know or hear, or I guess families and people who are listening today? What would you like people to know about the farm and what you do?
I think one of the things that I always sit down to try and write in our newsletter, and I put a tidbit here and there but it's just how wholeheartedly we are involved, in the health of our consumer, in the health of our animals, in the health of our soils. Like it's everything is connected, everything is cyclical. So yeah, we're not just growing things without pesticides. You know, I'm very interested in gut health and how, you know, the dirt that doesn't get washed off our vegetables that makes its way into your fridge is actually doing really cool stuff for you. So I'm always trying to communicate little things to people like that, is that we're not just growing food. We're strengthening, you know, our soils, and the animals that you know, that you consume from our farm are doing really good things to our soil as well. And it's all connected. I wish I could say it more eloquently. In my brain, it's fun and nice, but yeah, we really care on many levels.
And how can people support you? Like you said, it's a movement. What can, you know, non-farmers do to support this movement?
Get to know the producers in your area. Farm crawl's a great way to do that. You know, there are some good websites too. I don't have any on the top of my head, but that kind of have a nice map and show you where you can get your producers. I think it's a good sign when you go to a place and you can see all the animals and you can see the vegetables. I don't know if my parents mentioned this, but we aren't certified organic, and we've never really felt the need to do that because our customers come to the farm and they know and they see what we're doing. We're very open book. We often go above and beyond what the standards for certification in Ontario require, and feel good about that. So yeah, I think build a relationship with your farmers. I'm kind of the face of the email, and I enjoy answering people's questions, you know, ranging from anything to asking what a vegetable looks like growing in the ground, or people with school groups or homeschool groups who want to come and just see the field or go for a tour. Like, we love doing that stuff. We love when especially young kids can see what their food looks like before it goes to the store or gets to their table. Yeah. So I guess build relationships.
Yeah, that's awesome. It has been such a joy to connect with you and your parents today. Thank you, Naomi and Keshia.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody who's listening at home. And go do what she says. Go connect with your local farmers. Go check them out. Sign up for CSA. And yeah, stay tuned. See you guys. Bye.
So thank you. Bye.